Okay, so for today, you are going to need your notebook set up on page 93 like this. You are going to need your periodic table and particularly the charges and valence electrons on there. So if you don't have a good copy of this, you might screenshot this so that you have the valence electrons and the charges. It is my expectation that you are working on memorizing these. This is not difficult. It's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this shouldn't be hard to memorize, but I do expect everybody to have this memorized because it's going to make you much faster when we get to our next unit. Okay, so I'm going to set aside this. I don't want you to write on this yet. We're going to get to that in a minute. Before we do, I want to go over a few review problems. So if you want to do this on some scratch paper, that's totally fine. But this is some examples of how we're going to do the activity on page 93. And in class, we're doing this as a game. But for the purposes of online work, so that you guys can still have the same grade that they're going to get, I'm going to go ahead and give you your compounds. But let's do our examples first. So I'm going to roll our dice, and we have K and S. So our metal atom here is going to be K for potassium. Our non-metal atom is going to be S. Okay? So the first thing we've asked for is the Lewis dot for the metal. So I'm going to move those out of the way. Let's do the Lewis dot for the metal. So we start with the symbol, and then we need the valence electrons. So we're going to grab our periodic table. We're going to find potassium, which is right here. Potassium has 1 valence electron. So we're going to draw potassium with a single dot. Okay? We're going to do the same thing for the non-metal atom. Okay? Our non-metal was sulfur. We're going to come onto our periodic table. We're going to find sulfur. It's right here. Sulfur has a total of 6 valence electrons. So we're going to put 6 dots on the sulfur. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, we do 1 on each side, top, bottom, left, right, before we go back and double anybody up. So we would do 5 and 6. Okay, now I've asked for the metal ion. This is where my metal atom is going to give away all of its valence electrons, in this case only 1, and become positively charged based on how many electrons it gave up. So I'm going to draw the symbol. Potassium had 1 valence electron, it gave it up and became a 1 plus ion. Sulfur, on the other hand, we're going to start sulfur with its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are going to add electrons till we get to 8. So 7, 8. And then we're going to put that guy in brackets. And we added 2 electrons, so that gives sulfur a charge of 2 negative. And then the Lewis dot diagram for the compound formed between the two, we would draw, remember our crisscross method from yesterday? Potassium had a charge of 1. That means we need 1 sulfur. So I'm going to put my sulfur ion in the middle with its 2 minus charge. And that's the only sulfur ion we need. Sulfur has a charge of 2 minus, which means that we need 2 potassium ions. So on either side of my sulfur, I'm going to put potassium 1 plus ions. And there's my Lewis dot diagram for the compound. So we're starting with the elements, the atoms with their valence electrons, the ions where they've either lost or gained electrons to get to where they need to be, and then the compound as a whole. All right, let's do another one. So this time we rolled Mg and N, that's magnesium and nitrogen. So magnesium is our metal, nitrogen is our non-metal. Okay, let's start with our metal atom. So let's draw the symbol, and now we need the valence electrons. So I'm going to find magnesium. He's right here, group 2 element. So he has a total of 2 valence electrons. So we are going to do 1, 2. Remember, they can't be paired. They have to be in separate locations. Our non-metal is nitrogen. So we're going to go over here, find our nitrogen. Nitrogen has a total of 5 valence electrons. So we're going to do 1, 1, 1, 1, that's 4, and then 5. Now we're going to move from the atom to the ion. So remember, metals are going to lose all their valence electrons to become positively charged. So we're going to draw the symbol for magnesium. He had 2 valence electrons. He's going to lose both of them, and then he becomes 2+ because he lost 2 electrons. Nitrogen, on the other hand, let's draw him with his 5. I don't know why I'm making all of my atoms male. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone. All right, and then we're going to add electrons until we get to 8. So we're going to do 6, 7, and 8. Put this in a bracket. And we have to talk about how many we added. We added 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be a charge of 3-. Okay, so now when I crisscross this, nitrogen had a charge of 3. That means I'm going to need a total of 3 magnesiums. Magnesium had a charge of 2. That means I'm going to need a total of 2 nitrogen ions. So I'm going to start with a magnesium in the middle, and I'm going to do this a little smaller because I know I've got a lot of ions to put on here. Now, something really important that I saw a lot of people doing in their homework yesterday was not separating the charges. Guys, you can't put 2 positives next to each other. You can't put 2 negatives next to each other. They have to alternate, okay? Positive to positive is repulsive. Negative to negative is repulsive, okay? We need a positive to a negative. That's attractive. So I have 2 nitrogens I'm going to put on here. I'm going to put 1 to the left. Don't forget your dots and your charge. I'm going to put 1 to the right. Okay, so that's my 2 nitrogens good. I still need 3 magnesium and I only have 1. I cannot put those magnesiums on this magnesium, but I can put them on the nitrogens. So I can put a magnesium here next to this nitrogen, and I can put another magnesium here next to this nitrogen. Okay, let's do one more and then let's talk about your assignment for today. All right, that's the exact same problem, so I'm going to try again. Ooh, aluminum and phosphorus. That's a good one. Let's do this one. So our metal here is aluminum. Our non-metal is phosphorus. All right, so we're going to go to our periodic table and find aluminum. Aluminum is here, so it has 3 total valence electrons. So let's draw its symbol and give it 1, 2, 3 valence electrons. Let's find phosphorus. Phosphorus is here, group 15, so it has 5 valence electrons. So we're going to do 1, 1, 1, 1, that's 4, and 5. Okay? So now let's convert our atoms to ions. Remember, metals are going to lose all their valence electrons to become positively charged. So we're going to draw aluminum with no dots, and we lost 1, 2, 3, so that's going to give it a charge of 3+. Phosphorus, on the other hand, starts with 5, and we are going to add until we get to 8. 1, 2, 3. We added 3 total electrons, so this is a charge of 3-. Now, we're going to do the compound. So let's look at our crisscross method. If the charge of phosphorus is 3, I'm going to need 3 aluminums. If the charge of aluminum is 3, I'm going to need 3 phosphorus, except wait. Can we reduce a 3-to-3 ratio? Yes, we can, because positive 3 plus negative 3 already adds up to 0. So a 3-to-3 ratio reduces to a 1-to-1 ratio. So I only need 1 aluminum and 1 phosphorus. So let's draw that. 1 aluminum and 1 phosphorus. Because remember, the goal of this is for our charges to add up to 0, but the definition is the lowest ratio. So we can't have 3 to 3 because that's not the lowest ratio. We've got to reduce it down to that 1 to 1 because that is the lowest ratio. So this is what we're going to be doing on our activity for today. Since y'all are at home, we're just going to go through and we're going to roll for metals and non-metals first. And we're going to fill in these first 2 columns together, and then you are going to do the other columns on your own. All right, so our first combo is lithium and fluorine. Then we have potassium and sulfur. Magnesium and sulfur. Boy, I just keep rolling sulfur. There we go. Potassium and phosphorus. Magnesium and phosphorus. Lithium and chlorine. Lithium and oxygen. Oops, we already had that one. Yeah, we already had that one too. And that one. Getting down to it. Magnesium and oxygen. Sodium and sulfur. Okay, so you're going to use these elements that we just rolled. You're going to do the Lewis dot for the metal atom, Lewis dot for the non-metal atom, Lewis dot for the cation, that's going to be the lithium because that's the metal, Lewis dot for the anion, that's going to be fluorine because that's the non-metal, and then the Lewis dot for the compound. All right? This is due tonight.